Hello, everybody. It's Larry, and welcome to a mini Monday update. And we're going to talk about the things that have changed since last Monday. There are a few things. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to Sherry Stokes for being a supporter over on Patreon. Thank you, Sherry. And so let's get into it. And if we click on search and go down to the card catalog, we talked about how all the things are new and it's kept up for 60 days. But this first one here, it says 100,000 records, Wales, wills, and probates. It was added on 5/14, which was the day after our video. So there's 100,000 new records there. And for those of you who are in England that are laughing at me for the way I said Wales or Staffordshire, please do like my kind friends in Missouri did when I said Madrid, and they told me, no, Larry, it's Madrid. So tell me how to phonetically say Staffordshire and Wales down in the description below. That is once you stop laughing at me. Anyway, the other thing is over on the DNA matches, and you see that beta's on. And right here it says you're viewing the new features. It says learn more. Well, who can't click the learn more, especially me? So the first thing is filter and sort your matches. And it talks about the different types of filters and sorts. I'm going to go over it real quickly. We've covered this in a previous video, but we're going to do it real quick since it's mentioned it here. And there are a couple of changes. The first one is common ancestors. So if you and the person in your DNA match list both have a tree and it's able to figure out your MRCA, it's going to show it here on the common ancestors. But notice the green leaf. Green leaf for ancestry means hint. And so you see the green leaf, it means they're giving you a hint. It doesn't mean that it's gospel. So when you're looking here and it tells you this is your MRCA, it doesn't mean that that's definitely your MRCA. It says that that's what their AI is telling you is your MRCA. So look at it, review it, check it out. And in some cases it may be, in some cases it may not be, but it's definitely there as a hint. That's the green leaf. The other is the matches you haven't viewed. And so right here is one, 41 centimorgans. We haven't viewed it. We take a look at it, and when it's back, you notice that the name's not there anymore. So those are the matches you haven't viewed yet. I check that about every 2 weeks to a month just to see what's new. People take a DNA test, and usually it takes them at least that long before they start linking trees and doing stuff. And it's usually there's no trees. Sometimes somebody will come in and add a GEDCOM from like Family Tree Maker or something, and it'll just be a home run from the beginning. But usually they'll have no tree for a significant amount of time. And then the next one is the list of all the people that you've messaged. So when you're up in the message system up here, if you've messaged them about one of, and you see the color code, so you know who you're messaging them about, and that's real handy to follow up on that. And the notes, and then the trees. You got public trees, unlinked trees, and private linked trees. So I usually start with the public trees. And these are all the people who I match with that have a public tree, and I can go researching their trees. Usually I combine that with a surname in order to investigate a single surname. And the same thing with the unlinked trees with the surname. And with the unlinked trees, that's when the public trees didn't help. You couldn't just click on it because you got to click on the person, then click on the tree and bring it up. And so here, in this case, this is my father, this is my sister. You see it's in 2011 and 1999. So he died 20 years ago. She died 8 years ago. I got my DNA tested about 2 years ago. So I didn't know of them. They didn't know of me because, she died 6 years before I took my DNA test, and he died 18 years before my DNA test. But I was able to connect to my niece. And so, hopefully that's the reason we do this channel, and we try to help you connect with your family. Hopefully you'll connect in time. I didn't, but even though I didn't connect in time to meet him, it did give me closure in finding that information, and that's really the purpose of this channel, to help everybody get that closure, find their family. And it's been great. I've met my cousins. We didn't get to grow up together and do stuff like they did with each other, but I'm connecting with them now, and I'm happy for the part that I get. And so we see the check mark, so click it again, and that takes off the filter that we had on that. So that's pretty much the filter and sort matches. And this one is the updated relationship likelihood chart. Now this is a pretty big change. If you take beta off, you can kind of see the way it used to be. It's got the centimorgan segments there, but when you clicked on the help, it brought you up the little centimorgan chart. Okay, well, you'd have to click on the name, then click on the eye to get the segments, and then when you click on what does it mean, well, what was the segments and centimorgans again? I don't know. So you'd have to click out, click on that again, 1606 and 59. You have to remember that. Come back in here. 1606 was the first one. Scroll all the way down. 1606 fit in this, and then we go back up. 59 fit in here. And so that was a little less than optimal. So if we turn beta on, we get to see kind of the way it is now. And we look here and we see 781 and 31 segments. And now it's giving us the percentages. It's the same kind of thing in the chart, but it's a little cleaner. And the fact that it has the 781 centimorgans and 31, we don't have to go looking through the table to find out which one we match. It's really bringing it in, just like DNA Painter. So if we go to DNA Painter and we were to put in 781 like we have here, you notice that it grays out everything that it can't be, and it paints everything that it can be. So I'm not going to tell you not to use the DNA Painter because it's still very good for visual. But notice the percentages, 90% and 9%. And here it says 87 and 12. So that's about 3% off, about 3% off. And I've seen the variances be anywhere from 5% down to 0% based on what the CMS is. And since the DNA Painter was last updated here 20th of April of 2018, and this is a brand new update by Ancestry, I'm going to probably err that I think Ancestry's probably got a closer percentage. They've added a couple of million people to their database to get better variances and get better probabilities. So when you click on this, your probabilities are probably going to be more accurate in here even than on the DNA Painter. However, it is a painter, and it does give you that painted visualization of what their possibilities are. So I'm not going to tell you not to use DNA Painter by any means. I think you should. But if you're just working real quickly through, you can click on here and get a good probability of who it is. And you click this, you can be, that's 99%. You can be 99% certain it's going to be one of those. And that, to me, for a lot of the things you do and you're working quickly, that's probably going to work. So the updated relationship likelihood chart, that's pretty nice. The custom groups, that was what we talked about in our last video, actually. We talked about clustering using the color coding. There's 24 of those groups, and it has father and mother side labels. So in this case, my mother took a DNA test, and anybody that matches her, it says mother's side. And if my father had not passed away and taken a DNA test, everybody else would have matched on the father's side. I do wish that there was a not equal to search. And so if I clicked on somebody and it gives me the shared matches, when it's going through there and going, is it a match? Yes, put it in the array. Well, if it's a no, put it in the other array. Give me a not. And that way I can look at the knots and see with the color coding, that would be a very helpful tool. FTDNA has it. It's a really good tool FTDNA has, but they have 1 million people in their database to 15 million people. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you had 15 million and that capability? So if you're listening to Ancestry, that would be really nice to have there. And it should be something you can do right as you're going along there. And with the star, so you got 24 colors and a star plus the 2 labels. There's 27 total, 25 of those which you can control. So, it's not as many as would want. Of course, most of us would like an infinite number, but there comes a point where it's hard to tell the colors apart anyway. So I'm okay with 24 now, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe numerics or something like that. Shapes, I think one of the things Krista Cowan had in one of her examples one day was a shamrock or something. It was a green shamrock when it was, you had to put it in the note over, and it showed up on the right. So something like that, giving it a shape, give me a few shapes, a dozen shapes plus the colors of those shapes. And man, you can almost get exponential at that point. Updated compare features, and what that means is when I click on somebody and it's doing the comparison, the updated compare, it shows me the MRCA, which is really nice and gives me their tree. Now in this tree it didn't show me nearly as much, so I'll pull up my mom's. Now the one thing here is you used to get 7 generations of tree, and you would scroll up and down. And so here you got a map, and you got this huge waste of real estate there with the names. You've heard me talk in other videos like, whew, I'm blind and I'm old, but not that blind and old. But, right here, look, Linda Margaret Perry, what? Robert Cowan Perry. I don't know. Martha Annette Book. And then here it's Boo and Guard and Martha Elizabeth M. Well, it used to be you could click on that and it would pop up a box and you could see, the name, you could see the birth and death dates, birth and death locations, and you could, add that to your tree if you were working on it. Well, now you have to click on it, and it give you an example. You could click on this and it would pop it up, okay? and it would do that on that previous page. Well, now you can't even see the end of the name. Now this one says Marion McKendry T. Well, I can see, since it's male to male, it's a Tarrant, but that really means that it's hurting when you're trying to find the maternal. And so I know there wasn't any intent to slight the maternal side, but it does. It definitely is a hindrance to the maternals, because the maternal, you do have a chance of looking down and finding out what that, surname is. But, when you get on the mother's side, you don't have that passing along for you to tell. Martha Elizabeth M. What does M stand for? Martha Elizabeth M. Okay. Martha Elizabeth M. Is Martha M. And so now I'm having to search all the way here. It says Martha E. Couvain, Martha Elizabeth. And then, so what was the thing there? The M was Maddie. So it wasn't even an M. It was Couvain. And yeah, I got corrected by some family in South Carolina. Looks like Coven, but it's right here. This actually, the person put that in as Couvain. Those are actually the same name. It's just two different enunciations of the same thing. So, we look back over here, Martha Elizabeth M. That's Maddie. It's got quotes there. So that was actually Maddie for a nickname. I would have never known that. So if somebody looks at it and they don't have a subscription, I get it. You want us to click on that and see it pops up this, hey, please subscribe page. I get it. But, if you didn't show us the full names here, don't cheat us out of knowing what the women are in our families by not showing us that. Give us the pop-up box and show us that, please. The other thing is the hide a match. And so if you don't know, maybe you've used it, maybe you haven't. On the DNA matches, if you're working on a list and you want to hide somebody off that list, let's go here on the JC. Up at the top right, you can say hide match, okay? And if you hide match, we'll just hide JC here. Click hide JC. It'll only be seen from the hidden match list. So if you say hide match, see JC is not in my match list anymore. But if I click on all matches, you now see that there's one hidden match. So I can click back over here, click on JC, and then I'm going to show match again. Okay, so now I'll be able to see her in the match. But I see this happen quite a bit, that when people click on all matches, they come down here to the hidden matches, there'll be several, there'll be 100. And some people have said that they haven't done any, and they all got flagged like that somehow. I don't know if maybe they were in the right and they were clicking several times and it just, kept doing it to future trees or whatever. But I have helped people that have had 100 in there, and I'm pretty confident that they didn't do it 100 times, or they would have noticed, especially with the pop-up confirming. But you definitely want to go and check your all matches, scroll down the bottom, ensure that's 0. And if it's any number other than 0, then you're missing some matches in your match list. And then the last one is last logged in date. And it says here, click on a match's name from the match compare page. Well, you click on a match, that wasn't the match compare page. This is the match compare page because it says you and, okay? So this is the DNA matches page. This is your match compare page where it's comparing you and them. And then you have to click on the name again. And once you click on the name again, it'll give you the last signed in date. Now, this signed in date, I would say that if this date isn't within the last month, if it's more than a month ago, when you send somebody a message, you're going to need to include an email address for them to respond to. I'm going to go one step further and say, as best practice, you should always include an email address. And the reason is, when you click on that message, it goes to somebody and they may be active, they may not be active, but they'll get an email address or an email in their email box saying that, hey, you've got a member message from, and then they'll click on it and look at it. If it has an email address, they can respond right then and there. It's very unlikely that they're going to close out what they're doing, which is reading their email, shut it down, log into Ancestry right then and there. So that means that it's going to be at a later time. Then they have to remember it. And this means that, in my case, I got 3 kids, maybe they're taking them to ball games, other things in life are coming up, people get sick, etc. And, they forget to log in and they never respond. And that's why Ancestry doesn't get the response rate that FTDNA has. FTDNA has a very high response rate to contacting the matches. Well, FTDNA uses email addresses. So when you click on that email button to contact them, up comes their email address, and you're sending them an email from your email to their email, and they get it and they see it's from you, and they respond. And so they've got a really high response rate. Well, I believe Ancestry is sending them the email. The problem is when somebody comes up here and clicks that and sends them that person's getting an email address from Ancestry for several different reasons. Let's say that they let their subscription go. Well, come back. We'll give you free cookies or whatever the, discount of the day is. It's Mother's Day, it's Father's Day, it's Easter, it's Memorial Day, it's the, third Sunday of the month. Come back and join. We'll give you a percentage off. So, they've got all these emails coming from Ancestry. So they start ignoring them. And then they get some, hey, we found a new DNA match. We got a 5th to 8th cousin at 6 centimorgans. And you're like, okay, they're your potential 8th cousin or 10th cousin or 4th cousin. That's quite a ways out there. So I'm not going to log into Ancestry. I'm not going to buy a new subscription just to find out who that is. And so, again, they're ignoring those emails. And then comes the random out of the blue email, which they're not expecting to be different than all the rest. It says, hey, new Ancestry message from a member. And while it has a different subject line, it's not differentiated. So that makes it where they tend to pass them off. But if they do open it up, and let's say they have let their subscription go, they're not going to bother going back in and logging in. They may have forgotten their email, or they're not going to go into forgot password, reset their password just to come in and respond to you. They're like, oh, I probably can't respond since I don't have a subscription, so they're not going to log back in to begin with. Maybe they've upgraded their computer and they don't remember what the login is, or for whatever reason, and they'd let the subscription go. So there's a whole bunch of reasons they're not going to log back into Ancestry and respond to you. And see, that's where FTDNA, by making it email to email, gets a response. They get a very high response rate. And Ancestry could increase theirs if by default our email addresses were included, but you as a user can get much higher response rate if you'll include an email address in your messages at the end. Say, feel free to contact me at, and give that email address. You will find that you get probably 2, 3, 4 times as many responses as what you were getting in the past, because it's got an email, and they can click on that link in that email and respond to you right then and there, rather than having to go into Ancestry, log in, and respond through the messaging system. Anyway, so that's the update since last Monday. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to click the subscribe button and the bell notification this week, more than most, because we've got that series going on, and I know you don't want to miss any of those. So click the bell notification to be notified as soon as that next one comes out. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And hey, UK members, don't forget, tell me how to say those things down in the comments below. You all have a great week.